Hi, this is Jim Sporer with ISSIP, the International Society of Service Innovation Professionals. And today, our ISSIP Ambassador, Alka Roy, is with us. And we're just going to have a little conversation between Alka and I. I think I first met Alka when we were working together with the Linux Foundation AI and Data. And Alka was introducing a lot of us to not just ethical AI, but the whole concept of responsible innovation. So great to see you, Alka, and happy to have a little conversation. So could you tell us a little bit about your work and who you are? That would be fantastic.
Great. It's really wonderful to be here with you. I think we've gone through some incarnations together. So first of all, I appreciate you creating this organization and thinking systemically, which is a really, and consciously, mindfully, which is really what I've been noticing is missing in lots of corners. We're kind of going autopilot. So one of the things that I talk to leaders about is that whose game are you playing? And so if I talk to other people about it, I ask myself that question, whose game am I playing and how am I playing it? So who I am is this collection of systems and influences and journey. And there's a place I come from, the place where I've sort of organized my brain and my mind to be. And then there's a place I'm going. And all of those three things impact who I am today talking to you. And then so many other variables impact us. So right now, I am running this Future of Leadership program out of RI Labs, which came from the project Responsible Innovation Project. So it's really a series of experiments about what it would take for us to pause, think, and listen, even if it's for a few seconds. You know, when you ask me a question, who are you? I can answer it in autopilot. I'm I'm these titles, but am I? You know, and so what's the intent of your question? And then how do I answer it? Makes a big difference. So as you know, my background as I'm a product and technology leader is how I define myself in this industry. And I have tons of experience in building and rolling out products. I also have a lot of experience looking at startups and which startups we should partner, who we should bet on, creating co-create environments.
This is what you did out of the AT&T Design Center in Palo Alto, right? Is that?
There was an innovation center and foundry in Palo Alto where we did that for 5G. And that's where I started to notice this need for responsible AI in the beginning that we were talking about. But what is AI? By itself, it fits into social systems and as well as like transportation, you know, our cities is being introduced there, or with even 5G or other technologies like language. Language is a tool, really, you know, it's been around. So now we try to get machines to mimic humans who are also trying to understand the language. Having a daughter who I teach, you know, how to talk versus machine, it's just, you know, I don't remember that experiment we did with poetry where I was having different people write poetry and then I was having AI write poetry. And really what it was that how do you generate these different aspects of creativity? And one of the biggest challenges for me in my life has been, how do I integrate all my interests and all my sort of my background? How do I show up as much as myself? Where I come from. I grew up in India. I have grandparents and parents who are, you know, general in the army. They were member of legislative parliament. You know, I'm carrying all that with me. I can either carry it as this set of expectations that I must have some grand title. Like my dad kept saying, when are you getting your PhD? You know, it's like finishing high school in my household. So, you know, I never quite finished because I dropped out of my PhD program. So I think I carry all that with me. I carry the product and technology background. I carry strategic planning, which I also did at Singular Wireless. I don't know if you remember that name. I was part of the iPhone launch. So I got to see, I had a backside seat to from the singular side of what
Mhm.
Apple knew and didn't know, and how they were organizing, seeing it from the outsider insider angle. We've talked about this before. So if, for our ISSIP members or people watching this video, the way to, I would say is I'm a product and technology leader. I am right now working on investigating how we can show up as leaders and
Mm.
innovate innovation, to rebalance it, to have impact on people and environment at the core of its variables from very early stages of design.
Mhm.
And I don't think it's technology for good or nice thing to do, Alka or
Mhm.
Jim. It's going to take every one of us. You
Mm.
talk about expertise, you talk about service innovation and system innovation.
Right.
And what I've realized is it's not Alka Roy's show, it's not Jim's show.
Mm.
It's really all of us coming together,
Absolutely. Yeah.
defining for ourselves, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And really, I would say that's really been my journey, is how do I integrate my artistic side, my interest in human rights, my interest in making awesome products, and developing amazing leaders. And I think this RI Labs is a place where I've found kind of this home, or creating this home for people
Mm.
like me to come in, bring their own projects, bring
Mm.
their own ideas, bring their own rules to the game, the kind of game they want to play. And this
Mm.
is kind of a playground with
Mm.
accountability, if that makes sense. It's a playground that has some rules of engagement,
Sure.
and then within it, then you get to make your own rules.
Mm. Mm. A playground with accountability. So it sounds like you want people to show up as their authentic self with the rules that they want to engage with others, interaction with others, to learn with others, to share with others, to learn on their own. But I also sense that just as in ISIP, we see the world as a bunch of service systems. And for people who don't know what service is, it's just, the application of resources for the benefit of another. So, your interactions with your family, your interactions at work, your interactions in your community, all of these are service interactions. We give and we get service for service exchange is kind of the basis of it. So given that interaction and change are what's happening between systems, and people are systems, businesses are systems. Given all of this interaction and change, can we be more thoughtful? And I think this is what I get a good sense of responsible innovation from the iterations of it that I've seen you create, is that we we can't just do it in a automated way. It really is being sensitive to a lot of things that maybe we're not used to being sensitive to when we're doing innovation, and trying, as you said, to understand how our interactions are affecting all of those other stakeholders who are at the table or at the playground. I think is what I'm learning as I watch you learn in this experiment of the Responsible Innovation Project and this new leadership program that you've created, Alka. So I definitely look forward to continuing to find out the insights that you're gaining as you go along on this journey.
Thank you, Jim. And what you've said about systems is very important. And that's really what we're sitting with the leaders, and why this lab is
Mhm.
called an insider outsider lab. So a lot of labs say, oh, you bring this, now I'm going to make a company and I'm going to help you, and then you go off, it
Mhm.
becomes this own entity.
Right.
What we are is a bridge. So I think responsible innovation is a shift on how we do the same things.
Mm.
We are very out of whack, a very technical term of when we go off balance.
Mm.
We may not feel it right away when we're off balance. We are sort of accumulating the debt. We do
Mhm.
it with technical debt. If you don't invest in new technology, new expertise, we do it with our skills. We do it with our energy. So these people who come in RI Labs or in this leadership program, they're in their own systems, their own set of companies and organizations, kind of like what you've created, with ISSIP, where people are
Yes.
coming in.
Mhm.
Here, they try out different things and projects, and then
Right.
they take it back to their own systems to see what they can change. So the shift is that a lot of people look at like this hype. Oh, this new thing is coming. How am I going to catch up to that hype? Or, oh, look at those people that are doing terrible things. Oh, those terrible people. Who are those terrible people? And where's that hype coming from? We all have a part in it. That's the part we can have an impact on. So responsible innovation really is to say, you take responsibility for your own ecosystem and you think about each action, each next step, each action you take, and what can you do differently? You don't get just sit, it's fine, everybody needs to vent, but how do you do that? And then how does that impact systems? We come from open source, there's so many ideas now that are considered normal that were revolutionary a while ago. And it always started as these like, who are those weirdos, and they're now like rule the world. And so I think the thing, I'm not talking about everyone ruling their world, but their own world, their own place. The more that we can show up the way kind of we want to make, and really something doesn't feel right, investigate. I think, you're working on future of expertise, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
There's so much new information that's thrown at us. How our brain receives it, organizes it, integrates it into our, does something with it, makes us less of an imposter of the expertise. Because you can say these are the top expertise and everyone's doing AI now, everyone's doing ethics. And then tomorrow, everyone's doing responsible innovation, whatever the trend is, people just incorporate it.
Right.
Well, some of it is honest, because really nothing comes out of nothing. So if I'm working on IVRs, which is, the 800 number that you call and it says, oh, how may I help you? And it's automated. That is a precursor to conversational AI. So to say, oh, I worked on conversational AI is correct. There are other aspects of conversational AI and NLP. What aspect are you working on? The more that we can be very clear on what the industry is and what our expertise are and what we're doing with it and where we want to build our expertise and which one is for us to build and yet will be different than you. I mean, the fact is most of us aren't going to know most parts. We're going to rely on each other to know things. So I think, that's responsible innovation is really innovating innovation and reminding people why we innovate. So people always think, what's this new thing? It's nothing new. It is literally the thing that we've been saying we're doing. We're innovating for people. We want to care about the environment. Do it. What if we did it? And what would that look like?
So a question. So, we hear a lot about big investors, right? And I've been watching a number of YouTubes about organizations that have a lot to invest, individuals that have a lot to invest, and their process of going around investing in things, investing in change, investing in new forms of interaction, lots of investment. But I think, the question I have for you, Alka, is how do we learn to invest in ourselves better, more systematically, more wisely? What do you have off the top of your head? I'm putting you on the spot. How do you learn?
No, I love it. You're like, well, so it's really, there's so many stories are popping in, but, I think I've worked in big, large companies. I've been kind of the forefront of negotiating or helping negotiate billion-dollar contracts, moving really fast, evaluating 10 startups a day, literally these people's passion and work and, this pitch deck that they probably spend so much time making. In about 5 minutes, I decided whether they're worthy of listening or not. If you remember when we came to meetings, I evaluated the whole group in about 2 minutes. I just, I was like, oh, this is all they're going to do. Oh, this is, and remember you and I talked and you said, you have sort of a lens for seeing like the hypocrisy anywhere. And, I call that the gap.
The gap.
So we all have it. We all have it. There's a gap when we breathe. There's a gap of what we say versus what we do. I always say I'm going to go to bed on time today. I mean, just being real, and and then something comes up, a new idea. I think
Mm.
really, really well and clearly because I'm a caretaker. I have a bunch of things going on. So when everything shuts down, there's
Mm.
this amazing moment that comes from clarity that comes from me. And then I think very clearly in the morning. And
Mm.
so knowing your own gaps and being able to call your own BS, but not just becoming clever about it.
I like
Like,
that. Calling your own BS.
yeah, I
That's
actually
the
have a
quote
thing
of
called
this
BS
video.
meter. If you ever come to my thing, we've developed a BS meter. And the thing is that as long as the BS meter is within functioning range of your sort of purview, and if you get called yourself on it before you call other people on it, right?
Right.
That's really the gap that allows us to be flexible. We
Mm.
have to give people, you know, companies know that people are doing personal work during company time. They
Yep.
also know that people are doing company work and personal time. So
Right.
certain gaps, certain flexibilities, certain sort of agility have to be given to us to
Mm.
innovate, to be creative, to show up as ourselves. So
Right.
investing in ourselves or investing in an idea, even, are these big investments that are coming into these big ideas. How? What
Mm.
is your goal and what are you motivated about? I've spent 2 years after leaving, you know, the
Mm.
AT&T Innovation Center. Really, I feel not just investing in this idea, but really myself, selfishly, it's been my journey for me
Yeah.
to think and better understand my system. Because
Mm.
then guess what? If I'm organized, you know, I tell leaders they can't lead other people if they can't lead themselves.
Mm.
And if they have their little moments, that doesn't mean you're perfect. That just means that you're saying, ah, this is how people are. So when someone has a weakness or weak moment, we forgive them their trespasses, right? Not to start quoting the text, but you know, I think it's really there's wisdom. There's a
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that a lot because what you said is when you're learning to invest in yourself, when you're learning to invest in system change, this ability to call BS on yourself before you call it on others, I think is is
that's my quote for you.
a
We
little
can quote
nugget of
Alka's.
wisdom for all of us.
Call your BS. And the thing is, you know, the same thing with expertise, right? That you find when new thing comes in, give yourself time. What is learning? Learning is so awkward. Watch a baby trying to just stand up. We stand up every day. It's like, what's the big deal? When we're learning something new,
Mm.
like this need to become experts right away. Oh, like I know that. You know, how did you know that? I don't even know that. You know, that
Right.
person talking about quantum is still trying to figure it out. How do you know that? Oh, I know all about that. Oh, you know, I read that one paper. And
Right.
so, and I'm not saying that you have to have PhDs and all of that. I think there's
Sure,
a
sure.
lot of other conversations that I would love to have. What I'd love to do at ISSIP, Jim, is
Mhm.
to kind of bring this approach that I'm starting to investigate and build with this kind of workshop / leadership intensive we created, is that
Yeah.
even this learning, this investigating, this exchanging of information needs to change. The
Yes.
containers we create needs to change to match the speed, not just the speed of information, but to match us.
Mm.
We have built, you know, cognitive science has informed us greatly. It has
Mhm.
also limited us in how we think and organize the world for humans,
Right.
because we've kind of organized it for machines. So when AI comes, it's really easy to move us out of the way because we really literally designed for it to come. Somebody from Teamsters Union was at the AI Commission who said, you know, we're not worried that robots are going to take our jobs. We are now worried that we're going to report to robots or systems, people controlling the robots, and that layer of, you know, thinking about people as machines, it's going to get even solidified because
Mhm.
then you're having to communicate to the machine to then communicate to the human, which
Well,
is
I
a
know.
fundamental problem about, like, you know, like, so what does it mean to be human? So people say, what is responsible innovation leader? How do I change myself? How do I change expertise? Understand what
Mm.
does it mean to be human for yourself. Oh my, how much easier life becomes and how much easier it becomes. And last thing I would say is
Mhm.
that's why I use the language of love. When I
Mhm.
first started this, I have like a digital heart on my website. And a lot of
Correct.
people said, this is foo-foo, Alka. I thought so too. You know, I'm coming up with this framework. You've seen, you know, it's called Me Plus We, Responsible Innovation, has all these words that we're not used to talking about. Now,
Mm.
post-COVID, people are talking about compassionate disruption. You know, it's coming into the vernacular,
Mm.
but do we know what it means to us? You know, forget about, does Jim know what he's talking about? Forget about that. Do I know what it means to us? So in closing, and I know I'll
Thank
let
you.
you close, I
Thank
will
you.
ask you one question,
Sure.
since you've been kind to ask me a question is, Jim, we're talking about these concepts.
Mm.
Two questions. One, what does expertise mean to you? And then
Mhm.
after that, if you can tell me what responsible innovation mean to you.
Sure. Human expertise is the skill of practicing so that you have high performance. I think, you know, to you can't say the word expertise without the, you know, the concept of deliberate practice, or the word of practice being very close by, because true expertise is this: I'm deliberately getting better at this because it's so important to be really, really good as a doctor, or really, really good as a lawyer, or really, really good as an entrepreneur, or really, really good as a communicator. So human expertise is this deliberate practice to get to a high performance level that, you know, is better than you were when you started. I think, to me, what responsible innovation is about is, in the service science literature, we could talk about responsible actors. What is a responsible actor? So my next meeting is about to start, but I'll just say that a responsible actor is a actor who is learning to invest wisely and systematically in a better future version of themselves, which is very close to what expertise is. So thank you, Alka. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And thank you. I know you got a busy week ahead. Thank you so much.